And often you're bored in a deep way. You're bored because life feels so predictable and so, even if you're stressed, you're still bored, stressed and bored. And there's just not that sense of magic and mystery. Welcome to Eros and Earth. I'm Megan Lambert. This episode is for anyone in long-term relationship who feels emotionally disconnected, numb, or like the spark has faded, especially after having kids. If you've been searching for why desire disappears in marriage, how to bring intimacy back, whether relationship numbness means something is wrong, you're not alone, and this episode is for you. Today, I'm talking about Eros, which is erotic aliveness, and we're exploring why love often goes quiet under stress, burnout, and constant responsibility. I explore loss of desire after parenthood through an embodied lens and share how small shifts, not dramatic overhauls, can restore warmth, play, and emotional intimacy in long-term partnership. This is a conversation for couples who still care, still function, yet want to feel more fully alive together. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome back to Eros and Earth. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm looking at 5 questions I've received, and it's all around Eros, aliveness, and parenthood. Are you ready to dive in? The first question is, many couples tell me we're not broken, that something vital has gone quiet. How do you know when a relationship has slipped from aliveness into just functioning? And why does this happen to good people? This question is so important to me because this is the quiet heartbreak that nobody talks about. These are the couples that are still together and still feel like a team, and yet something has changed. Their relationship starts to feel hollow, dry. Their partner walks in the room and they no longer light up. The butterflies are gone. When they say goodbye to their partner, they just forget to kiss them. They don't even really want to kiss them. When they stop being genuinely curious about what happened to their partner, when they go on dates and it feels safer to talk about logistics than what's actually on their heart. And this happens to a lot of couples. It especially happens once you become parents because the logistics increase, the intensity increases, the amount of shared workload. But it's not just for parents. This is for any couple that has slipped into a little bit of numbness. And there's 2 reasons why this happens. The first reason is heady. It's simple survival, right? Imagine this, both people are working, you're stressed out, you're trying to manage work and childcare. Intimacy can easily feel like the last thing that you're thinking about. It is so easy to put Eros and play and magic and desire into this like corner of your room that you'll never look at or touch, right? It just happens because there's things that feel much more urgent, like paying the bills, like dropping your kids off at school, like making sure there's food on the table, right? Like these things feel more urgent than desire and aliveness. And the other one is we live in a culture that's really heady. That's a lot of intellectual ideas and stimulation. So imagine this, you're at work all day, you're thinking, maybe you're on screens a lot. Then you get home, you scroll on Instagram a little bit, you try to get to some last minute emails, you end up spending 7-10 hours a day on a screen thinking. That is not a recipe for erotic aliveness. It is not a recipe for feeling deeply into your heart and your body, right? You'll likely feel like a brain on a stick, right? You feel like a lot of thoughts, not much sensation, not much juiciness in your body. So understandable, so relatable. And again, it is a product of the culture that we've created rather than a personal failing. And then the other reason that this can happen to couples is that their hearts got hurt. That somewhere along the way, there was a comment that hurt, something wasn't said, anger is built up, resentment has built up, and they've turned into quiet, polite functioning as a way to guard their heart. And because Eros is vulnerable, it wants you to strip naked emotionally as well as physically. And you are not willing to do that if you're resentful. All right. So a lot of the work when we work with couples is first looking at where are you angry, resentful, and withdrawn. Often one partner, and this is a vast generalization, but often one partner has become angry and critical. The other person has become withdrawn and like removed from the relationship. And that's not fertile earth for Eros. The seeds of desire don't grow there. But again, it can be really subtle, right? Like it might not be something you would notice immediately. It might be something you only notice days or weeks down the line when you're like, wow, I don't really want to make love to you anymore. Maybe you still are, but you don't really want to. Or you're like, wow, I don't really feel that excited about seeing you. Or you stop touching each other. Or you stop laughing together and stop playing. These are all signs that like Eros has left quietly out the back door. It happens to good couples, great people, and it's not your fault, and it is, and you can repair it. Okay, question number 2. What does it cost a family when Eros, desire, and play are postponed until later? Not in a dramatic way, but in the everyday texture. Yeah, it's hugely expensive. You know, a lot of the couples that we work with aren't on the edge of divorce. I mean, sometimes, but often they're not. They're couples that have been together for a while. They're content, but they don't have that spark of play. And what happens is the day starts to click by, click, 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 and each day feels a little bit the same. And it feels monotone and black and white, like you know exactly what you can predict is next. And often you're bored in a deep way. You're bored because life feels so predictable and so, even if you're stressed, you're still bored, stressed and bored. And there's just not that sense of magic and mystery. And on a personal level, it feels flat and numb. In a family level, though, it's like, it feels like your life or your family is beautiful, but you can't feel it. Like you're watching a black and white movie. And that costs so much. I mean, it's dramatic, but it's like it costs your kids their childhood is what comes to mind. It's because like those moments of color, of vividness, of play, of laughter, of like spontaneity, that's what brings the aliveness into their childhood. It costs your marriage the warmth. You might still be together, you might still even love each other, but it costs you that warmth of feeling deeply connected and deeply met. Yeah, and it costs your community, your sense of like you're not fully there. It's huge. And it ripples out into everything, right? When you aren't connected to your Eros, to your desire, like work feels hard, you feel less magnetic, your kids probably fight more, you're probably scrolling more, you feel less interested in like doing things that are fun. It feels like this heavy burden. Yeah. Start to feel a little bit like a machine on an assembly line rather than like a magical fairy creating a life of mystery and wonder. I remember when I first started learning about Eros and desire, and up till that point, I had like quite a successful life. You know, I had won a bunch of awards and I was valedictorian and I had gotten a really prestigious job, but there was a way that my life felt really black and white. And then once I got deeper into the world of Eros, masculine, feminine, sacred sexuality, and my pleasure started awakening and my body became more alive, I was like, wow, colors are brighter. I feel more interested in the world. I feel like that excitement, butterflies of like not knowing what will happen. I feel like lit from the inside. It is an amazing feeling, and that's the feeling of Eros. And you probably know that feeling when it's there and when it's not there. So that's the cost. Okay, question number 3. Okay, if I'm actually noticing something is missing, what's the first shift that I should make in my relationship? What is the first shift I should make? Well, I think the first shift is to be honest with yourself, to be honest about that sense of quiet desperation, to be honest about that feeling of like creeping boredom, to be truthful that like your life feels a little dry and dull right now, right? And that's okay. It's okay to start with honesty. And then the next shift is to give yourself permission to yearn. Yearning feels really dangerous. We've been trained out of yearning. We've been trained like, it's good enough. Be grateful for what you have. Your life is beautiful. Enjoy it. But yearning is where Eros lives. It lives in your wanting. And so the first shift I'd invite couples to do is first be honest. What are you tolerating that actually doesn't feel good anymore? Like truthfully, just lay it out on the table. Where are those pockets of quiet desperation? What sucks, right? Take off the filter, be raw and honest. What's no longer working? Because you can't change anything until you admit what needs to be composted, right? Otherwise, you're just building a house on top of shit. First, you have to take that shit, put it in a pot, not a pot, probably in the earth, let it compost, let the worms do its thing, and then new seeds will grow. The new seeds come from your yearning. So once you admit what's not working, look at your yearning. What do you actually want? Individually and for yourselves as a couple. Do you want to do more exciting dates? Do you want to have more alone time to write and create? Me. Do you want to have kinkier sex? Do you want more magical family time in nature? Like what is your heart, body, soul yearning for? And let it feel dangerous. Let it feel wild. Let it feel like something you shouldn't ask for, but that you actually really want. And you can do this reflecting. I'd recommend that you each do it, if I'm working with a couple, each do it individually first, right? Because it's really easy to self-censor when you're talking with someone else about your yearning. Like it's easier to say the desires that feel safe rather than the ones that feel dangerous. So first do your own journaling on it. And then come together and be like, all right, let's be honest. We need to change some things around here. And also, no shame in that. Every couple will have moments when an old way of being together is dying and something new is asking to be reborn. I have never met a couple that has been together for years and years that has not had moments of something dying and something being reborn. That is how nature works. The flowers bud, they bloom, and then they fall. So no shame in something not working and no shame in wanting more. Okay, that's the thing. Question number 4. I feel a bit burned out and I know that my partner is feeling isolated. What's one small doable doorway back to aliveness we could step through this week without overhauling our life? Well, if you're burned out, if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling numb, it's because there's a tamping down of your aliveness. Because aliveness is scary, right? It brings sadness, grief, rage, pain, yearnings that feel impossible, vulnerability, risk. Eros is not all fun and games. It's not all like hot sex. It's also like, woo, tender, so tender. And so the one shift you can make, you've probably been tamping down your aliveness for a while. And the question is like, how do you bring back 10% more aliveness, 10% more Eros? Because sometimes Eros will invite you to do some bold restructuring of your life. Like, you might get a desire to move to a new city or change schools or take your kids out of school or quit your job. Or Eros can look like really big, bold life shifts. But it can also look like choosing to orient your life towards aliveness in tiny, tiny steps. So a tiny shift I would say is like, look back at your week and think about, when did I feel most alive? Maybe it was a song that you danced to. Maybe it was a moment you made love. Maybe it was singing in the car. Maybe it was laughing with some friends. Maybe it was doing some art. What is something that made you feel alive? And then can you do like 10% more of that? Dance to a few songs, a few times a week. Laugh more with friends. See like how you could invite 10% more Eros into your world. Yeah. And then the other thing I would say is just to stay with the feelings. Stay with that feeling that something has to change. Stay with the yearning, even if you can't see what it's for. Eros doesn't want to be fixed. It doesn't want to be handled. It wants to be met. It wants to be witnessed. So witness your Eros. Witness where those pockets of aliveness are. And then the other thing is like be around things that are alive. One of the best ways to feel more alive is to be around things that are alive. Be out in nature. Hang out with your pets. Grow an herb garden. Like spend time with things that are alive and watch how you will feel more alive. Okay. And then the last question is, if I could leave families with one permission they've never been given but desperately need, what would it be? I think for this one, it would be permission to not be okay with the way things have always been. That's the permission. Right? Like the cultural scripts are so loud. Work hard, get a big house, save up for retirement, put your kids in school. Like the narratives are so loud. But if there's one spot in your life that feels like a suit jacket that doesn't fit, trust it. Really trust it. That's the permission. Is like your life is your own to create. You are not here to put on a ready-made, fast fashion suit of a life. You are here to hand stitch your own life where each corner and each crevice of this outfit that you've stitched feels just like you. And so if something is pinching, if something doesn't hurt, if something doesn't feel quite right in your life, trust it. Trust that. You are wiser than you know. Your body is wiser than you know. And your emotions are wiser than you know. And that all of those things are the gateway into the life that is meant for you. The life that is 100% yours, rather than a ready-made life. Okay. I hope that was helpful. If you have more questions you would love for me to answer on the podcast, you are welcome to send me a message on Instagram. I love hearing from you. I love hearing what touches you as well on the podcast. So yes, share this episode. Leave a review if you loved it. If you have questions, send them to me on Instagram. Let's make this a conversation rather than a monologue, because I really see this as a community of leaders and change makers. And yeah, it's a two-way dialogue. Okay, take care. Big hugs. I hope this episode touched you. If you loved it, share it with a friend or family member, or you can leave a review to help get the word out. Thank you. Until next time, root down, open up, Eros and Earth.